Well, the eagle-eyed amongst you have already spotted glimpses of the S10 in previous videos, but I thought it was well worth properly introducing him and his brand new little brother, the K10 Plus Pro. Because these aren't what they seem. You see, they aren't just new robot vacuums. They are ushering in a new wave of home automation. There's some exceptional engineering that goes on in these, and as a result, they are heralds of something much bigger that you will want to know about. Switchbot actually asked if I wanted to have a test of the S10. And if I'm honest, I wasn't initially interested. I was a bit skeptical. I mean, robot vacuums are just robot vacuums, right? They've got sucky bits and spinny bits, and they were quite exciting at the beginning, but they haven't changed for a long time. Now, as with all the companies I featured, they passed my initial red line. They didn't ask for a glowing review or, in fact, any input into what I say. Nevertheless, I still wasn't interested in looking at them. I've had loads of different robot vacuums for years and years, different brands, and they just all become really stagnant and similar. But then they sent me the details. And let's just say I was wrong. I actually had to read their engineering brief several times. It was that cool. So let me take you on a journey to show how playfulness goes hand in hand with innovation. And then we can see this in action on the Switchbot S10. I'll show you why this isn't your average robot vacuum iteration. I'll tell you about its standout features and what makes it so different from the rest of the herd. Oh, and I'll introduce K10 Plus Pro as well, who plays a different role in this, and one that surprised me in a remarkably familiar way. If there's one thing that any technology firm should avoid, it's becoming a corporation. This is the moment the pendulum swings from a lively, innovative bunch of folks who value genius to a staid and plodding corporate who value profit maximization techniques, holding features back for future versions, subscriptions, and every version release moves from being a leap of new features to a shuffle. They play it safe, steady, and cynical. The customer is no longer someone they delight or disappoint, but an income source that they exploit. This signals the slow death of innovation, customer focus, and the slow replacing of talented engineers with grey accountants and policy teams. Perhaps the easiest way to tell this is if the product is actually fun. It shows the engineers having the freedom to just do things just because they wanted to. There are large companies that still do this, so it is possible. It's just rare.
Cleaning makes me happy.
Can you imagine getting these past a corporate accountancy and legal team? As I've covered previously, Switchbot are a bonkers firm. They are like moths to the flame of problems. They seem to tackle all the problems that no one seems to dare to look at. Turning old-fashioned switches into smart devices. Tackling the entire world's range of chaotic curtain standards and creating some sort of intra-compatible device. Definitely look at that video. I love them. But it appears that one day the engineers obviously had some sort of drinking session where one of them started ranting about how robot vacuums had just stopped improving and had stalled for many years with the task of mopping. I mean, picture it. You're tasked with designing a mop. Now, the early models were basically a damp pad stuck on a robot. There you go, consumer. Spend another £1,000 on the brand new mopping robot. Then the next iteration shook the mop around a bit. Another £1,000, please. Then they started having tanks that could dribble water out. You guessed it, you'll do well in this corporate environment. But all these approaches are just fundamentally unimaginative, and they're based on smearing an increasingly filthy mop pad around your house. It's never going to be the solution. But someone at Switchbot knocked back another drink and decided to rip up the rule book. And the result is quite brilliant. The S10 is a vacuum and a mop in one, so it does both. Nothing special these days about that, but it's when you look at the engineering it gets brilliant. I mean, even when I started using this, I had penny drop moments where I realised how clever it actually was. So most robot vacuum mop combos have some sort of vacuum mode and then a mopping mode that sometimes requires you to replace the mop yourself and sometimes mechanically lowers a mop to smear around the place. It then goes around hoovering and then goes around mopping. But look at this! The S10 has a roller mop that spins, but it sits behind the vacuum so it can do both at once. Dust particles get sucked up into the dust container, then the mop does its thing. However, I've only just started on the engineering. As my apocryphal drinking session went on at Switchbot HQ, someone else obviously realised that they could design it so as the roller spins, it has the dirty water pulled out of it and replaced by fresh, clean water. And so it does. 300 times a minute. Just brilliant design. And can you see how this leaps these devices from smearing devices that are worse than humans using a mop and bucket to something vastly beyond what any sane human could achieve? But not to be outdone, in staggers another engineer, shouting about how stupid it is that all these vacuums are still swilling around dirty water that needs to be emptied manually, like some medieval peasant shouting "Gardiloo" and throwing their effluents out of the window. And this is where Switchbot have redefined the industry. And I'm not joking here. Mark my words, you will see the corporates copycatting this design in years to come, as it's opened up a new world of possibility for vacuums to no longer be vacuums. I'm not even sure if Switchbot have twigged quite how brilliant this solution is, but I'll come back to that later as I've got more to talk through, as our drunken engineer party hadn't finished yet. So he takes out a piece of paper and scribbles this design for a water station that attaches to everything in your house. Attach it to your mains water supply and waste. Attach it to the washing machine outlets, to your sink, to your toilet. Do you realise about how many plumbing standards there are across the world? Shut up, he slurred as he carried on sketching furiously. If we can fix curtains, we can fix plumbing. And then, if you do like the idea of chucking water at your neighbours, then they also sketched a self-standing design that you can empty yourself. What this means is the robot can empty and refill its own supply forever. No intervention ever required from you. But slurred another engineer as he grinned in delight. "How are you going to power the water station? It's a pain for people to get electricity near the water supply." And then he collapsed in a drunken stupor. "Ah," said the first engineer, continuing talking to the now unconscious other engineer. "We will take the power station to it. The power will come from the robot itself. It will pump the water out, then power the valves to release fresh water and mix in just the right amount of cleaning fluid if you want to." Let's leave this apocryphal drunken scene behind and zoom up a level to look at the big picture here. Yes, they have created the new standard for mopping robots, and it makes all the muck-wiping approaches just look silly. But whether they realise it or not, they have made an evolutionary leap for the whole smart home. This is no longer just a robot vacuum. I mean, it mops outstandingly well, but it's a mobile robot that can carry power and empty and refill water from anything around the house as well. Think about this. Suddenly, an entire industry of accessories opens up. So let's say you have a humidifier in a room, like I do here. This room has my washing machine, dryers, some air fryers. It's basically a humidity factory. And this is in the UK, which is already incredibly humid. So I've added a humidifier that I have to empty every week to keep going. It's a dumb device, so I have to manually check it to know if it's working or not. But the S10 can carry water and power to any device. So it could take over this task for me. And it has. It can be dropped wherever you want, and ta-da, it's now automatically emptied forever. They have completely eliminated the task from the household. So it's a robot vacuum, mop, power station, water carrier, water emptier, and dehumidifier. Can you see where this is going? Now, Switchbot, listen to me. Keep doing this. Do not underestimate how exceptional this concept is. You can create moisture sensors that I could stick in plant pots around the house. They can tell the Switchbot when they need watering, and bang, plant watering across the entire home is solved forever. Obviously, don't mix with the mopping fluid in this case. What about automatically filling dog or cat bowls with water? Filling water-based air fresheners, laundry steamers. The list becomes quite exciting. Plus, there's the potential to charge devices using the S10, so you could be freed permanently from replacing batteries all the time. I'm not going to start showing you tests where I throw cereal and rice grains on the floor. Like all the things I look at, I want to test it against something far tougher: real life. So the S10 has been battered by the usual bombardment of kids stomping in mud, sawdust from the workshop, water from rainy days, flour from cakes, filament from printers. Things blocking it like Lego bricks, letters, board games, clothes, glitter, and much more. And the result? It's taken a huge swathe of work away and has relentlessly cleaned the floors. The floors are visibly cleaner than they've ever been. I'm not one of these clean freaks, so I've never mopped the floor every day or anything, or even every week. This is an immense improvement, and it's come at so little cost to me in time. I haven't had to change the mop at all, although it's a one-click operation if I need to. No emptying of the dustbin. I've had one bug, or rather, I suspect self-caused issue, where I had a glitter explosion in the hall, and I suspect I may have caused a blockage. So I flushed it through, and it's been perfect ever since. The app itself has been visibly improving each week, with new features being added all the time. And the speed of iteration is another good sign of a company that's moving fast. Now, if the S10 is a transformational leap, then the K10 Plus Pro is just a brilliantly simple addition. One of those obvious when you point it out sort of things. The K10 Plus Pro is an unashamed evolution of the original that tackles shortcomings and improves on all the features. But essentially, this range takes all the features of other vacuums and shrinks it all down. Seems simple enough, but with this, it suddenly transforms what you can achieve with it. This is exactly what I was telling you all a few weeks ago with the difference between 0.4mm 3D printing nozzles and 0.2mm sizes. It does more than just shrink the size, it changes the task it can perform. You can see this immediately in the difference in the maps. You can see quite how the average robot doesn't quite fit the average household. The K10 Plus can dodge around all these chair legs, fiddly lampshade bases, table legs, gaps between chairs and more. So if I was going to compare this to gardening, the S10 is a lawnmower and the K10 Plus Pro is a strimmer. It tackles all the edges, the nooks and crannies brilliantly well. And they work superbly as a team. And it might be this is the go forward. He can do the mopping, but he's much like all the other competitors on the market. He can't do the real-time cleaning that the S10 does. Where he's great is for smaller mopping jobs. Just drop him in your bathroom and he'll dart around and get all those awkward spots cleaned. Indeed, this pairing could well be the solution for the next level of vacuums in houses. So if you're looking for a robot vacuum, then the S10 and the K10 Plus Pro are absolute must-look-at devices. I've got links in the description if you want a further nosy. And I'll also add the humidifier too. Below all this, Switchbot deserve the credit for being a company willing to break away from the herd of clone vacuums. That always speaks volumes to me. And I should be clear, I have completely made up this story about the engineering drinking session. But whatever they're doing to come up with these innovations really deserves applause. Companies that are not afraid to be brave and challenge the status quo are the ones we should get behind and support. They move us forward. So I have 3 points to make to Switchbot. And if you agree with these, add a comment below so we can really make clear to Switchbot how important these are and how much behind them we are. Firstly, keep innovating and let yourselves put fun into your product. Others can't be fun. That died long ago, so don't hold back. Continue to add fun features. For example, why not let us add custom MP3 sounds and let us help be fun? Secondly, use the community. You are pioneers in your domain, but this means you have more to do because you're breaking new ground. But you don't need to shoulder everything. A good example is if you fully opened up your APIs to Home Assistant, then you could have tens of thousands of people helping you innovate. Unleash the nerd army. They could be solving the problems for you. I know it's super tough as a small company to dedicate the time to this when there's always the immediate issues that customers are complaining about or you're focusing on adding new features. But this could pay back big time in the medium term. And thirdly, fully embrace what you have delivered here. Everyone else is designing robot vacuums. You've created a robot assistant. I am super excited to see where you go with this. There's some simple features you could add. The empty station could be modularized, so you only need one for the K10 and the S10. Just have a Switchbot station. You could add a generic charging slot to this for any future devices. For example, a handheld vacuum, like some have already. But the ability to add and remove water is a game changer that gives me goosebumps with the potential. Thank you to my Patreons, YouTube members, subscribers, and everyone who comments on these videos. You continue to inspire me and each other. And the bigger this channel gets, the more interesting gadgets I can bring to you. And the more improvements we can make together on the free products that I've been releasing. Which reminds me, I have uploaded some free goodies on my site, which helps keep the Switchbot accessories organised. You know, the ones you otherwise lose immediately. And also some little feet that help keep the water tank in place on slippery floors. But if you're looking for a vacuum mop, check out the S10. It's got to be one of the best pieces of engineering I've seen all year. And the K10 Plus Pro is a brilliant little solution to a problem that all robot vacuums have struggled with for years. Links are in the description. And Switchbot, please keep being Switchbot. Don't ever grow up.
Cleaning makes me happy.
I know, and I don't love cleaning, which is why I love you.